Good afternoon. This is knowledge time. Welcome, alchemists. Today I'll be reading from the book, The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. Currently, I am in chapter 13, Advance with a Sense of Purpose, The Law of Aimlessness. Part 4, The Lure of False Purposes. The gravitational pull we feel toward finding a purpose comes from two elements in human nature. First, unable to rely on instincts as other animals do. We require some means of having a sense of direction, a way to guide and restrict our behavior. Second, we humans are aware of our punies as individuals in a world with billions of others in a vast universe. We are aware of our morality and how we will eventually be swallowed up in the eternity of time. We need to feel larger than just the individuals we are and connected to something that transcends us. Human nature being what it is, however, many people seek to create purpose and a feeling of transcendence on the cheap to find it in the easiest and most accessible way with the least amount of effort. Such people give themselves over to false purposes, those that merely supply the illusion of purpose and transcendence. We can contrast them with real purposes in the following way. The real purposes comes from within. It is an idea, a calling, a sense of mission that we feel personally and intimately connected to. It is our own. We may have been inspired by others, but nobody imposed it upon us and nobody can take it away. If we are religious, we don't merely accept the orthodoxy. We go through rigorous introspection and make our belief inward, true to ourselves. False purposes come from external sources, belief systems that we swallow whole, conformity to what other people are doing. The real purpose leads us upward to a more human level. We improve our skills and sharpen our minds. We realize our potential and contribute to society. False purposes lead downward to the animal side of our nature, to addictions, loss of mental powers, mindless conformity, and cynicism. It is critical that we become aware of these false forms of purpose. Inevitably, all of us at some point in our lives fall for them because they are so easy, popular, and cheap. If we can eliminate the impulse toward these lower forms, we will naturally gravitate toward the higher in our unavoidable search for meaning and purpose. Here are 5 of the most common forms of false purposes that have appealed to humans since the beginning of civilization. The pursuit of pleasure. For many of us, work is just an irritating necessity of life. What really motivates us is avoiding pain and finding as much pleasure as possible in our time outside work. The pleasures we pursue can take various forms: sex, stimulants, entertainment, eating, shopping, gambling, technological fads, games of all sorts. No matter the objects of the pursuit, they tend to lead to a dynamic of diminishing returns. The moments of pleasure we get tend to get duller through repetition. We need either more and more of the same or constantly new diversions. Our need often turns into an addiction, and with the dependency comes a diminishing of health and mental powers. We become we become possessed by the objects we crave and lose ourselves. Under the influence of drugs or alcohol, for instance, we can temporarily feel transported beyond the banality of our lives. This form of false purpose is very common in the world today, largely because of the cornucopia of distractions we can choose from. But it goes against a basic element of human nature, to have deeper levels of pleasure. We have to learn to limit ourselves. Reading a variety of books for entertainment in rapid succession leads to a diminishing sense of satisfaction with each book. Our minds are overwhelmed and overstimulated, and we must reach for a new one right away. Reading one excellent book and absorbing ourselves in it has a relaxing and uplifting effect as we discover hidden riches within it. In the moments when we are not reading, we think of the book again and again. All of us require pleasurable moments outside work, ways to relieve our tension. But when we operate with a sense of purpose, we know the value of limiting ourselves, opting for depth of experience rather than overstimulation. Causes and cults. People have a profound need to believe in something, and in the absence of great unifying belief systems, this void is easily filled by all kinds of microcauses and cults. We notice that such groups tend not to last very long. Within 10 years, they already seem passe. During their brief existence, their adherents will substitute extreme conviction and hyper belief for a clear vision of what they are after. For this purpose, enemies are quickly found and are said to be the source of all that is wrong in the world. Such groups become the means for people to vent their personal frustrations, envy, and hatred. They also get to feel superior as part of some clique with special access to the truth. We can recognize a microcause or cult by the vagueness of what its disciples want. They cannot describe the kind of world or society they desire in concrete, practical terms. Much of their raison d'etre revolves around negative definitions. Get rid of these people or those practices, and the world will become a paradise. They have no sense of strategy or defined ways of reaching their nebulous goals, which is a clear sign that their group is merely about the release of emotions. Often, such groups will depend on large public gatherings in which people can become intoxicated by numbers and shared feelings. Wily rulers throughout history have used this to great effect. People in a crowd are highly suggestible. Through short, simple phrases with lots of repetition, they can be made to chant back slogans and swallow the most absurd and irrational ideas. In a crowd, people can feel relief of any personal responsibility, which can lead to violence. They feel transported beyond themselves and not so puny. But such enlargement is an illusion. They are actually made smaller by losing their will and their individual voice. Allying ourselves with the cause can be an important part of our sense of purpose, as it was for Martin Luther King Jr. But it must emerge from an internal process in which we have thought deeply about the subject and are committing ourselves to the cause as part of our life's work. We are not simply a cog in the machinery of such a group, but active contributors, bringing our uniqueness into play and not mimicking the company line. We are not joining out of a need to gratify our ego or to vent ugly emotions, but rather out of a hunger for justice and truth that springs from deep within our own sense of purpose, money, and success. For many people, the pursuit of money and status can supply them with plenty of motivation and focus. Such types would consider figuring out their calling in life a monumental waste of time and an antiquated notion. But in the long run, this philosophy often yields the most impractical of results. First, more often than not, such types enter the field in which they can make the most money the fastest. They aim for the biggest paycheck. Their career choices have slight or no connection to their actual inclinations. The fields they choose will tend to be crowded with other insatiable hunters of money and successes, and so the competition is fierce. If they are zealous enough, they might do quite well for a while, but as they get older, they begin to feel restless and ever so slightly bored. They try different avenues for money and success. They need new challenges. They have to keep finding ways to motivate themselves. Often, they make big mistakes in their obsessive pursuit of money because their thinking is so short term, as we saw with those who went all in on the derivatives frenzy leading up to the crash of 2008. Second, money and success that lasts come from remaining original and not mindlessly following the path that others are following. If we make money out if we make money our primary goal, we never truly cultivate our uniqueness, and eventually some younger and hungrier will supplant us. And finally, what often motivates people in this quest is to simply have more money and status than other people and to feel superior. With that standard, it is difficult to know when they have enough because there are always people with more. And so the quest is endless and exhausting. And and since the connection to their work is not personal, such people become alienated from themselves. The pursuit feels soulless. They are workaholics without a true calling. They may become depressed maniac maniac, and and they will often lose what they have gained if they become maniac enough. We all know the effects of hyperintention. If we want the need desperately to sleep, we are less likely to fall asleep. If we absolutely must give the best talk possible at some conference, we become hyper anxious about the result and the performance suffers. If we desperately need to find an intimate partner or make friends, we are more likely to push them away. If instead we relax and focus on other things, we are more likely to fall asleep or give a great talk or charm people. The most pleasurable things in life occur as a result of something not directly intended and expected. When we try to manufacture happy moments, they tend to disappoint us. The same goes for the dodged pursuit of money and success. Many of the most successful, famous, and wealthy individuals do not begin with an obsession with money and status. One prime example would be Steve Jobs, who amassed quite a fortune in his relatively short life. He actually cared very little for material possessions. His singular focus was on creating the best and most original designs, and when he did so, good fortune followed him. Concentrate on maintaining a high sense of purpose, and the success will flow to you naturally. Attention. People have always pursued fame and attention as a way to feel enlarged and more important. They become dependent on the number of people applauding, the size of the army they command, the crowd of courtiers that serve them. But this false sense of purpose has become greatly democratized and widespread through social media. Now, almost any of us can have the quantity of attention that past kings and conquerors could only dream about. Our self image and self esteem become tied to the attention we receive on a daily basis. In social media, this often requires becoming increasingly outrageous to capture eyeballs. It is an exhausting and alienating quest as we become more of a clown than anything else. Wow. And each moment that the attention ebbs ever so slightly, a dawning pain eats away at us. Are we losing it? Who is siphoning off the flow of attention that was ours? As with money and success, we have a greater chance of attracting attention by developing a high sense of purpose and creating work that will naturally draw people to it. When the attention is unexpected, as with the success we suddenly have, it is all the more pleasurable. Cynicism. According to Friedrich Nietzsche, man would rather have void as purpose than be void of purpose. Cynicism, the feeling that there is no purpose or meaning in life, is what we shall call having the void as purpose. In the world today, with growing disenchantment with politics and the belief systems of the past, this form of the false purpose is becoming increasingly common. Such cynicism involves some or all of the following beliefs: life is absurd, meaningless, and random. Standards of truth, excellence, or meaning are completely old-fashioned. Everything is relative. People's judgments are simply interpretations of the world, none better than another. All politics are corrupt, so it's not really worth it to get involved. Better to abstain or choose a leader who will deliberately tear it all down. People who are successful get there through gaming the system. Any form of authority should be naturally mistrusted. Look behind people's motives. You will see that they are selfish. Reality is quite brutal and ugly. Better to accept this and be skeptical. It's really hard to take anything so seriously. We should just laugh and have a good time. It's all the same. This attitude presents itself as cool and hip. Its adherents display a somewhat apathetic and sardonic air that gives them the appearance that they see through it all. But the attitude is not what it seems. Behind it is the adolescent pose of appearing to not care, which distinguishes a great fear of trying and failing, of standing out and being ridiculed. It stems from sheer laziness and offers its believers consol- con- consolation for their lack of accomplishments. As hunters for purpose and meaning, we want to move in the opposite direction. Reality is not brutal and ugly. It contains much that is sublime, beautiful, and worthy of wonder. We see this in the great works of other achievers. We want to have more encounters with the sublime. Nothing is more awe-inspiring than the human brain itself, its complexity, its untapped potential. We want to realize some of that potential in our lives, not wallow in the cynical, slacker attitude. We see a purpose behind everything that we experience and see. In the end, what we want is to fuse the curiosity and excitement we had toward the world as children, when almost everything seemed enchanting with our adult intelligence. Quote, the whole law of human existence contains in nothing other than a man's always being able to bow before the immeasurable great. If people are deprived of the immeasurably great, they will not live and will die in despair. The immeasurable and infinite are as necessary for man as the small planet he inhabits. By Fyodor Dostoevsky. Whew, that was fun. Tomorrow, that's the end of chapter 13. Tomorrow, I'll be reading chapter 14. Resist the downward pull of the group, the law of conformity. In conclusion, pretty much what I got from this, the lure of false purposes, um, pretty much the pursuit of, we're talking about the pursuit of pleasure. Um, if you take the pursuit of pleasure, it instead of, basically, what caught my attention about the pursuit of pleasure is pretty much the pain. How people don't accept pain like they accept love. People are just like more seeking the pleasures more than pain, and pain is part of growing. So, it's just, love is an after product of pain. That's my personal opinion, because I've went through so much pain, but in that pain there's so much love. So that's what I got from the pursuit of pleasure. Causes and cults. Pretty much, you go with the hype. You get caught up in the ideological group think. And I mean, I never been like, I did that before, but the way my mind is, I just always advancing my mind. And if I don't know if you guys are in groups and stuff like that, you pretty much, you go as fast as the group. You can't jump here, jump there. You got to stay within the boundaries of the group. So that's why I couldn't really stay within groups. I bounced a lot, because I just liked the expansion of, I just liked everything about life. So pretty much I was bouncing all over the place. Money and success. Yeah, I learned at a young age, not to let money get to my head, and success also. Pretty much my philosophies, but they are motivators. So I do use them as motivators, and little goals that I set throughout the month and year. Like, I cross it off, and then I do my little celebration, and I go back at it again. Go for another goal, but bigger than the last. So each goal that I cross off, I always go one up little by little, like how I do in the gym. I go up little by little, just like how I invest in the stock market. I go little by little. Okay, attention. Yeah, that's pretty much. I used to be like that growing up. Because I didn't have my mother and father, so I was looking for attention in everything, and I was bad, and I now I understand why I was bad, because I was seeking attention, which I didn't get. So That's what caused my bad behavior because of lack of support from parents. Didn't have parents. So cynicism, pretty much other people's opinions. They're talking about, oh my God, the sky is falling type people. Yeah, I'm pretty much, I'm in South America right now. So if I've been cynicism type of person, I wouldn't have left the U.S. Like, I'm beyond cynicism, so I understand that. Once you get past these things, you'll be flyer than heaven. Outro. Subscribe to the channel. Comment any questions you have. Like if the information was inspiring for you, and share this knowledge with other alchemists. Also, follow me on Instagram for more progressive knowledge. My Instagram is max_Bugatti_8008. I'm all about family first. I'm a global stock investor. I'm a filmmaker. I'm an aerospace botanist. I have a masculine confidence building program. And currently I'm out here into Cali, Colombia. While you're slaying dragons, I'll be taming them.